press live. Hello everyone, this is MV, broadcasting from Cardiff as usual. I was going to do another Harry Shanks, but I'm still waiting for Steve, just in case he does his, so apologies if anyone's expecting it. Steve is just tied up a little bit with the old work schedule, so I'll do one of these, one of my own ones, and then if I don't see Steve, then I'll start broadcasting Harry Shanks. I'm a little bit reluctant because I've already sealed the file up, but I might just have to send a brand new one after I do, if I do, a match-up. So I know Rob was keen yesterday. I don't want to lumber Beatles with it tonight. And let's see if we can advance the schedule just a little bit more. But I'm just going to continue. A lot of fun yesterday, loading up 1871 in Adelaide Park. I've never done it in 20 years of playing this game. And because I've learned a little bit more knowledge around that type of dead ball in particular, it's given me a chance to kind of recognise some of the players I've learned about playing in Beatles Eternally's Ned McGreevy League and the Harry Shanks League that we do on Steve Tate's channel, as well as Beatles Eternally's. I've learned a lot about the Negro Leagues as well. Can't wait for us to do that on Action, or with, I'm definitely on Action. So it's been so interesting. So what I've done is I've simmed to date from 1871 and just had little brief lookings, just to kind of build up a history before I start playing anything. I'm in commish mode, so this is just a show of the history of the league. I'll probably do up to 1890, a season at a time, just quickly sim through, see important landmarks and leaderboards, and just kind of see how it compares, how the simulation compares. It won't be exact, obviously, and it's working according to my settings. But here we go. If I just look at the history index, which is a lovely feature of Adelaide Park, it's not really changed from day one, really. They've kept the same feature, almost the same look, since the very first time they've ever done this. So that's nice to see. So I've got on here lovely index of what we can look at. So the league history index is here. So you can see in 1871, the Philadelphia Athletics were the champion. If it's in dark blue, means they won it. And if it's in light blue, means they're in the World Series. We know the National League is the league of the establishment, so to speak. And the AL was very much seen as the Junior League or the Bear League. I think there's a specific word they called it back then. It's the Beer League, I know that much. So, yeah, the Beer and Whiskey League. That's what I remember. And I suppose it was. I just can't remember if the American League was the American Association. But I will keep looking, keep learning, and that's it. But I think by 1882, which is where we're pretty much at, what was once known as the American Association had survived and had larger population based on the league than the National League. It drew bigger crowds. And also by 1882, they'd had their own stars. So there was quite a lot going on there. Between the two leagues, a little bit of a trade war as clubs would go from one to the next, and different blacklists would be set up. So yeah, it's interesting time in baseball history that I'm learning about. Thanks to Ken Castro, Big Clue, Beatles Eternally, who have given me a chance to kind of give this a little bit of a deep dive. As you can see here, the most dominant team from what I can see in terms of World Series, if I can call it that, at this time of the history, were a version of the Cincinnati Reds. I've learned from Big Clue there were many versions of the Reds, at least three. The one we see today is the third version. But there were other versions as well, which is interesting to know. I didn't know that. So I think the game picks them up in their colours. But so there's the league history. The recent champions in 1881 were the Buffalo Bisons, and there's some notable names on there as well. It drafts according to history, except the very first draft. So you can see every year in 1871, for example, who was picked, and that would be the only year, because after that, it should have picked up. They would be assigned according to the historical rookie year. So there's only one draft history here, because I'm importing them according to history. Buffalo Bisons, because I had it on the Bisons. This is their lineup. So you can see over the years, there was a guy called Deacon White, which I shouldn't say guy. He's still there, Deacon White, I believe. Let's have a quick look. He's still playing at the age of 33. Still a good player. So I like this feature. Again, it's been there since the very first iteration of Out of the Park. 20 years ago, I think it was. In fact, I had my first disc. I'm sure it was 99. I definitely remember Baseball Mogul around at that time. And I'm sure I had a disc for... It was definitely sent by a man's name called Steve Guthrie on the outside. I'm sure it was Out of the Park, the second iteration of it, which is very much like the first. It was definitely on a disc, though. A little CD-ROM. It didn't last long, did they? But you can see here, their main starters, Jack Rowe, Lou Brown, Ben Loughlin, Ned Williamson. You can see how the lineup has evolved. White has been a mainstay. Brown has been with them for quite a while. One of the Clacks, I've seen quite a lot of Clacks. There's a guy called Cuthbert here. Seems to have played many years with them. And now Ned Cuthbert is 35 and looks like he is retired. So, love the history. This is the Buffalo Bisons. In reality, I don't know how long it is. Swartwood, someone I've seen in the action PC games we've played. So it's lovely to see some of these names now that I'm beginning to recognise. Most of them I still don't. So that's the league history index. Let's just quickly go through that again. It's got the players. You can go by letters. It's just a lovely feature. There's Cap Anson there, right at the top. Teams. So again, kind of shows the years they were active. It looks like most teams started in 8, no, not all. As you can see, again, I don't know how accurate this is. It looks like they've got different names underneath them, which is really good. So the Buffalo Bisons started off as the Fort Wayne Kekyongas. Fort Wayne Kekyongas, I don't know what Kekyongas is. They also were the Brooklyn Athletics and the Louisville Grays. So that's their history. Really like it. Really like the fact that it's set up like that. The winningest, if that's a word, franchise has been the Worcester Ruby Legs, who were once the Washington Olympics, the Washington Blue Legs, the Washington Nationals, Syracuse Stars. So there's a lot of evolution there. The Boston Red Caps, which I believe Beatles said to me yesterday, was, yeah, Steve. Hello, Big Clue. I'm picking up 1881. I'd love to do some Harry Shanks, but I'm waiting on Steve. His work schedule seems to have tied him up again. And I didn't want to reopen the league file, which I've closed, with the latest BBS, otherwise it's really confusing. So I hope you don't mind. I hope everyone doesn't mind. But I thought I'd crack on with a bit more history and delving here at Big Clue. So while I wait for Steve or Beatles can pick it up as well. Poor Beatles, he was doing quite a lot lately, I've noticed. But he loves it. He loves it. He loves it. Of course he does. Boston Red Sox is the Boston Red Caps, I think. Beatles said to me yesterday. Chicago White Sox is, I was thinking it was the White Sox. Actually, they go on to become the Chicago Cubs, I believe. So it's really interesting for me to learn the stats. The worst one, here's one for Beatles. So in 1872, the Pittsburgh Alleghenies, I definitely know that's the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're now in the league. We've now seen the Orioles join recently. It doesn't say... I don't remember seeing the Baltimore Orioles from the beginning. In fact, this is their first season. Big clue. Oh, poor Steve. You hear that, Steve? You go on vacation for 2 weeks. You don't even need a job. Why are you going on vacation? You're funny. But yeah, Clue. Do you know what, Clue? I don't know how to do the wrench thing. I must sort that out today. I'll do that. And anytime you want to come on the microphone, Big Clue, you are most welcome to talk me through some of these things. So let me know and I'll hook you up through Discord. Love to hear your voice on here. So if you're up for it, let me know. I think I know how to do it. Just going to the Discord. So the modern Reds here, right? Okay, so it's going to be interesting. I'll take you through this clue, what I'm seeing here. The managers, at the moment, these are not real managers. I can go through and edit them. I don't recognize anyone. The name Lip Pike seems very familiar to me for some reason. I've seen that name before. Maybe he's retired. Oh, look at this sample lineup. So there's Charlie Buffington, a name we know very well from Ned McGreevy. Yeah. The Only Nolan, I've seen that name before. So, question, who was the Only Nolan? Now, I don't think I've seen the Only Nolan in Ned McGreevy, but I think I've seen him on the Out of the Park boards for many, many years. Oh, you're at work, no problem. So Lip Pike was the first Jewish major leaguer. Wow. Great center fielder most in the 1860s. So thank you, big clue. And this is the only way I'm going to learn, I guess, is just go through these. So I'm looking through the managers. The most successful manager here, bearing in mind these are fictional, championships. Charlie Paber, I don't know if he's real. I suppose the very first year the managers are still around. I know Ned Hanlon's in the league. And some of these players are real. In fact, I recognize their names. So they're players that have either retired and have gone into management. Like Jimmy Wood, I do recognize that name. If I just search for Jimmy Wood, there's a Jimmy Wood that played for the Worcester Redlegs. And there he is, Jimmy Wood. Is it the same? Jimmy Wood, is he now a manager? I suspect it is the same Jimmy Wood. And this is what I like about it. So, again, if you recognize any names here, I definitely recognize Lip Pike, Jimmy Wood. I recognize Harry Wright, I think. So, these look like real names. In fact, if they've got an 11 on there, it means they've been managing from the very first season. Hey, everybody just jumped in all of a sudden. Yeah, Buffington, my man, I think he'd be an ace reliever. Hello, Ken Castro. Hello, D. Scott Howard, otherwise known as John DFW. Hello, D. Scott. Your team's doing very well in the Howie Shanks, by the way. And hello, everyone. We're just doing a little bit. I was doing some history yesterday, if you look back at yesterday's stream. Today's stream, while we wait for the reclusive Steve to rejoin us, I was just looking back at 1871, kind of whetting the appetite a little bit for Beatles, as I know he loves this era. Ken does, Clue does, and I'm learning. I did promise Ken I would have a Luke, and I'm having a Luke to see what it's all about. So what I've done is I've simmed until 1881 at the moment, pausing every now and again to look through. I'm looking through the MLB, in my game, obviously, History Index. Here's a list, by the way, of the champions to date. Dark blue means they won it. So the Buffalo Bisons are the champions. So that's really good. So thank you, Big Clue, for letting me know that Hastings, Lennon, Wood, Reach, Bike are real ones. And I suppose that's because they were there in the first season. I wish it would import managers. I can edit it, of course, so that it reflects. Like Jim Smith is probably just a new person, random. So there's the History Index. I like it. It has the Major League Baseball, you've got the National League, and then you've got the Beer and Whiskey League, which is the American League. So I'm doing a lot of research. I'm reading a book at the moment, which I bought in a sale in a book festival by a man called Leonard Coppett. I've had this book about 15 years maybe, and up until I met Beatles, it was gathering dust. I have the paperback version. I don't know how old it is. It cost $18 US at the time. And it says here, no one knows, understands, and interprets the history of Major League Baseball so well as Leonard Coppett. A rich, readable history of the game. And that was quoted by Dick Shepp. And if I remember correctly, Dick Shepp wrote the book by Jerry Kramer. An amazing book when I was 18 years old. God, I have really been around American sport a long time. So Ken Castro has just done an 11-inning game franchise, cards and dice, and Cubs 11 innings, 28 hits, lots of runs. Now tired. Bless you, Ken. So, continuing to look through here, this league today, before I move on again. Here is the leaderboards. So here's some career leaderboards. Single season batting. Steve King in 1873. Looks like he had a 431 average. Let's have a look, Steve King. What did he say? 432 average. There's Steve King. Never heard of him at all. Does it say 431? What did it say here? Players, 431, Steve King. Here we are. Steve King, it says 4315. So it's really accurate. Yeah, there he is, 432. In 1873, Steve King was the main man there. Just have a look down the list. Is in name stand. This man stands out for me. Levi Marley, or Marley. Like Dan Marley spelling, but is it Marley? I've just come across the very first Jewish player in Major League, which is Lip Pike, according to Big Clue. This man, his city of birth is unknown on the game. His name was Long Levi. Long Levi. Excellent. Going down the list of the career batting average, there's Jimmy Wood, who is now a manager, 39 years old. There's my man, as Ken said, he knows what his man is. Here's mine, Dan, Big Dan Bruthers. Absolutely love him. Red Bolt, of course. Levi Miley, again, as at-bats. Home runs. Who's the home run leader? A guy called Mart King. Yeah, Miley, quickly, you know your stuff, man. Are you a saber man? I'm still trying to understand what that actually is and how you get that honor. I'd imagine you have to apply for it and take a test. Like those London cabbies, they have to take a test to ride a black cab around London. And they do a knowledge test. Is that how you become a Sabre member of Sabre? I don't know. Curious to find out. As Ken Castro in his cards and dice. So, D. Scott says, I see Lip Pike received one Hall of Fame vote in 1936. Nickname was the Iron Batter. Big clue for many decades. And in Ken Castro's replay at the moment, looks like he's playing with a Gas House gang. Oh no, possibly a Cardinals all-time, it looks like. Medwick was 5 for 5. And Musial hit a 3-run home run in extra to win it. Cards and dice is where I think we all started. I'd love to play a cards and dice game. I'd love to play the one I like, Status Pro, again. But apparently it's in another baseball game, which I do have, but it's not the same. So Lip Pike we were just talking about, but let's keep going back at the history, as I just, stall for time in case Steve does come on. And if he doesn't, in say the next hour, then I would definitely fire up and then I'll try. Leaderboards, let's go down the leaderboards, and you can do it by position, which I actually love. There's some other names here. We mentioned Levi Marley. For doubles and triples, Ed Pinkham. What I learnt, though, about the early, I think it was up until about 1883, was the strikes and balls and strikes was 5 and 4. In fact, one day Steve lapsed into it one day when he said, and now the count is 3 and 4, which I thought was very funny at the time. But apparently in 1880s baseball, the strikes and balls were different. I'm sure there were other things that were different, but that did strike me. Of course, the game has to evolve, doesn't it? So that's interesting. Right, so I'm being schooled here by Big Clue, who says Sabre is an organization. Yeah. I'll send you the info. Thank you. There's no entry requirements besides the annual dues. Okay. So it's not like Mensa. Well, I would never get into Mensa, to be honest. My IQ is firmly just below, well, it's below that. That's for sure. Did I have a lovely lady in my life, though, who was a Mensa person for sure. She always had the angle on me, that's for sure. Great sense of humour. Always has lots of surprises in a little purse. Anyway, Ken Castro, also Sabre member. It's well worth the dollars. Okay. Yeah, sure, Big Clue. I'll give you my, I'll get you in the Discord if you haven't already got it, my email. Definitely. some baseball research journals. I love it. Clue, everybody, I think we're all the same, we might have different ages, but the passion's the same. Like I said, I thank Beatles forever because, well, I'll thank him eternally, excuse the pun, for just getting me back into this big time. Because I used to eat and devour everything I could get my hands on as a kid, as my escapism. Yet I love cricket, I love soccer, I love most sports, even the dreaded F-ball. I was into in a big way. But baseball, wow, all I can say is wow. Here we go. So in terms of pitching, so far we've had the best ERA we've seen is 1.02 by Frank Buttery. Here's Fred Goldsmith, one of the alleged inventors of the curveball, with 26 wins in 1879. That's the highest so far. There's a great name here in saves, Foghorn Bradley. Foghorn Bradley, playing for Cleveland. Mike Golden is here. We've got a couple of Bud Galvin, we talked about yesterday. Hits allowed per 9. So let's have a look at whip. Is whip here? I suppose that's whip. Bud Galvin had a 0.75 earned run average. Whip in 1876. In fact, he's quite dominant, it looks like, Bud Galvin. However, the career leader, this is up until 1881, is this gentleman here, Larry Corcoran. I had a little gander at him yesterday. So this is all good stuff to learn about. No, it might be boring some people. Not that Mel B. My Mel's different. The Mel I know is very, very different than that. Although the fire is the same. So having a look here now, back to MLB, back to history. I think I've covered everything at the moment. In terms of Hall of Fame, there is no Hall of Fame, obviously. At the moment, in terms of milestone watch, very interesting. The only notable milestone, it looks like for hitters, is Levi Marley. He's age 36, and he's hit 1,500 hits at the moment. In terms of pitching, milestone watch, Bobby Matthews for Cleveland has 188 wins. As Big Clue says, he's just jealous that Ken actually got to see these guys play. Oh dear. Al Spalding for the Providence is also 182 wins. And in terms of games, ball player O'Rourke, I don't know if his real name. Now, one thing I did see, now this man looks a man of colour to me. I have now seen Fleetwood Walker. Take a look at Fleetwood Walker. Here he is. Otherwise known as Oscar Walker, centre fielder, Boston Bisons. But, popular myths you don't hear. I mean, I know why he's no longer in the league. Oscar, he'll get a chance to play in this league, that's for sure. Which reminds me to take the colour barrier off, Mark. Don't forget to do that. Because there's an option to integrate or not integrate, and I'm definitely going to integrate. And actually, I should start it now, actually. But Oscar Walker, there he is, that's old Fleetwood. So if I look at his real life stats, he started in 1875, according to this, at the age of 20. He's not had the most productive career, having said that. But he is playing centre field for the, I'm sure this is Fleetwood Walker, it can't be anyone else. But I did see another player just now, didn't I? Ball player O'Rourke. Now that could be a fictional, though I don't think that is the case. This guy started in 1872. He could have been around, and that could just be the game. Put an ethnic colour on this particular player who may not have really existed. Was there in real life a ball player O'Rourke? If so, let me know. I did do some integrating down there. Big clue. My life has been all about integrating, let me tell you. Some of it, most of it, yes, in fact, all of it with the opposite sex. But I've had a lot of fun, is the best way to put it. A lot of exploration, like an old buccaneer. Do you know who a famous buccaneer is? Almost like a patron saint in Jamaica. Is a fantastic buccaneer. It's a fantastic, well-known buccaneer called Henry Morgan. I'll show you all the stories about Port Royal. Now, Port Royal is near the airport in Jamaica, which is Norman Manley Airport. And if you drive down the Palisados Highway, I think it's called, you can see some relics of Port Royal, which I think was destroyed in an earthquake. And Port Royal, from my memory of studying it, it's been a long time ago, was the Sodom and Gomorrah, really, of the West Indies at the time. And Henry Morgan was a notorious buccaneer. I think where Jamaica gets some of its spirit from, to be honest with you. So, yes. Who is Mel Bush? That sounds like someone I should know. No, there's an airport now, Big Clue. But that Port Royal does seem to be something. I've never seen Pirates of the Caribbean, but I'm pretty confident that wherever they land is based on Port Royal. And I'm sure that captain is based a lot on Henry Morgan himself. And there's actually a house that still exists. I've been there many times as a kid. It's called the Giddy House, because it's still there, but it's immersed and embedded in the earth at a 45-degree angle. And you go in there just as a kid, because you would, wouldn't you? And it's okay. You know, so Jamaica, a very historical island. You know, there's another place where if you want history of a Caribbean kind, you've heard of the White Witch of Rose Hall, where she was known to practice obeah, very alluring young lady, and the obeah being the magic, and she'd lure them into the bedroom, and they were never to be seen again. But at least they had a good time, so I've heard. So the White Witch of Rose Hall, very interesting lady. So, yes he did and yes he didn't. He said he based the drawl on Keith Richards, for sure, yeah, I've heard that. But definitely, but the whole, you can see he's like Keith. In fact, didn't Keith Richards play one of I think he played his dad in one, I've never seen them, but I'm pretty confident he did. He did say he did basic Keith Richards. Johnny Depp did. But the character as a whole, I think, has some of the Captain Morgan in him as well. In fact, there's a great drink. Jamaica's well known for its drink. It's coffee liqueurs like Tia Maria. It's well known for its rum, the Appleton, red rum, and then the J. Rare Nephew white rum, which is amazing, amazing. Don't go near it. Don't go near it. Anyway, ball player O'Rourke, did he exist? It's like, I have to do my little history lesson there in Jamaica. League settings, league history. So now I'm going to go into milestone, which I've done that. Right, so here we go. So let's have a look at the league. I think we'll just come to the end of 1881. As you can see on the table, the Buffalo Bisons have won at the second National League in a row. And they'll go to the World Series. And in the Beer and Whiskey League, the American League, or what would have been, I guess, the association, is the Worcester Ruby Legs. So before we go to that World Series, let's just look at who the great players were in 1881, according to this version of my game version of that year. So, free agents, now we want to have player rankings. So here's the player rankings in 18... So Big Clue says, Scott Howe says, MV knows the Alfie of Jamaica. Yes, a little bit, and the Alfie of Cardiff as well. One of my favorite college professors was a former colonel in Jamaican Air Force. Oh yeah, I mean, Jamaica's just an amazing, I mean, all the countries I've lived in, I've been lucky, very lucky to live around the world, like a few of us have, and I really got immersed in the culture of Wales, for example. But Jamaica, there's so many stories, whichever angle you come at. The very first indigenous people of Jamaica were the Arawak Indians. Very peaceful, loving group. But when the Europeans came over, of course, bringing, influenza and things like that, they died out. I don't know if there's many left. I don't think there's any left, actually. But maybe elsewhere in the Caribbean, like Guyana, there might be descendants of Arawak still around. There probably still is in Jamaica, actually. And then they had the slavery, and then they had the indentured slaves that came across from India. So there's a real mixed population within Jamaica itself. So here we go. Looking at the top 20 position players, Levi Marley is the top player, but he's 36. But he's rated as the highest in terms of skill. Then Dan Bruthers, there's my man. There's Pete Browning. So now we're coming into some of these players from the Ned McGreevy League. There's Steve Tate's secret weapon, Fred Dunlap. So now we get into the players that we do, well, I know anyway. Here's Roger Connor, 24 years old, switch hitter, rated 5 stars. Fred Dunlap, like I said, 5-star potential. Pete Browning, here's a player that looks really good, playing for the Louisville Eclipse. Dan Bruce, as I said. Who is ML Gross? ML Gross. So, Big Clue says, Ruby legs sound like the employees at a certain type of club. That's true. Big Clue says that King Cash is okay. Most of the Beatles' girlfriends changed genders after dating him. So, so Emil Gross. Who's Emil Gross? Plays for Providence. 23-year-old catcher. Cap Anson, we know about. There's Harry Stovey, another one I know about. Again, thank you, Beatles. There's Buck Ewing, another one. He's in the league. So a lot of the players that we got to know, I suppose, seem to explode around 1880, for what I know. And I know that in 1883, there was a series of peace conferences that settled a bit of a trade war, and the leagues began to honour each other's contracts. Interesting. And it was called the Tripartite Pact, which is now known more, or became known as the National Agreement. Interesting. So I've got some little notes here that I've made. It's not coming from my head. So in terms of pitchers, Larry Corcoran was the main man there. Jumbo McGinnis. There's our man Charlie Buffington, only 20 years old. There's Tony Mullane, a little bit controversial subject on him. Guy Hecker, wow. I do love it when I see a red bolt. There is Guy Hecker, at last. One of my guys. So Big Blue is telling me now, D. Scott, how recommends it? D. Scott, where we could get it. I've been drinking yesterday, I think it was some Strongbow cider. 1883 was the national agreement first designating major from minor, right? Okay. And in Big Clue says the Northwest League was the third league, right? Hence the tripartite. I was wondering where tripartite came from. And they accepted minor status, recognizing the NL and AA as major leagues. So what I've learned from this Big Clue is that the American Association became the American League. Obviously, I'm sure that was the case. And in 1903, it now makes sense. Peace agreement between AL and NL was based largely on the early one. Thank you, Big Clue. That's stitched that together really nicely for me. Here is a man that I love in my game at the moment. In the league that we're playing, he plays for the Red Bulls, of course he does. And he's in my Howard Shanks 1 and 2 team. In fact, he's in the Howard Shanks 2 team. Let's take a look at Guy Hecker. Why do I love him so? It is 1881. He starts really in 1882. It's a little bit ahead of schedule. The season I got him from, he had a whip of 0.77. So there he is. And not only that, he's not like he remains consistent. In 1884, he has a whip of 0.87 or 870, which is superb. Going 52 and 20. Wow. But whatever happened to Guy Hecker? Anyway, he's in the game. And we get down to some of the others here. Bobby Matthews Hussein, Blonde Bessie. So now I've seen quite a few players that I would not have known 6 months ago. Not had a clue. So Big Clue, yep, thank you for what I said. AA folded after 1891. The NL absorbed their best clubs, a minor league. Right, okay, so the American Association folded in 1881. So the NL continued, expanded in 1900 when the NL cut 1/3 of its weakest clubs, then competed. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game. So the American Association was absorbed into the NL from what I'm understanding, Big Clue. And the American League, so where did that come from? The American League itself. I mean, I could read a bit more. So, as I'm getting this wonderful history, there's the standings. Let's play out the actual season. The actual World Series, I should say, which I think is finished. MLB, off-center. So there was no World Series. Interesting. Playoffs. So Buffalo won the series 4-3. That's done. So that's the end of 1881. What I'm going to do now is go straight to 1882 and forward by the month. So there's a bit more interest in some of those players as they progress. So it's going up to 1882. It's a bit like that film Time Machine with the dates just whizzing past. And I thank King Castro and Big Clue and Beatles Eternally for continuing to school me, and D. Scott Howard and everybody else that continues to tell me and show me what's happening with this baseball. I know a bit, 80s in particular, 90s, but everything else is a bit hazy. Big Clue says, the American Association and the American League have no relation, although they do have one thing in common. Both were founded by angry Cincinnati sports writers. Ollie Kahler, right? Ollie Kahler was for the AA, and Ban Johnson, I do know, he became the first president, I think, of the AL. There was a World Series in the mid-1880s, but it wasn't called that and really wasn't formalized. Right, yeah, I get rid of that now. So here we are in 1882, start of 1882. The preseason predictions are as follows. The top hitter will be Pete Browning, and they are predicting he'll hit 335. So there's some names we recognise. I'm definitely going to be looking out for this Marley chap, although he's older now. Next time we do a Ned McGreevy. There's Tony Mullane. Guy Hecker is predicted to be the top starter. There's Tony Mullane, another one of these great players. Yeah. Lovely. Some of those pictures. So that's the spring. So let's do spring. Get spring out of the way very quickly. MLB spring training. Play until start of the season. So we'll just do next month. And the season starts. So at the end of if I can get the right standings in. It looks like at the end of May, beginning of May, April's over, the Troy Trojans lead the league with a 3-game winning streak. I'm sure that Dan Bruthers plays for Troy. There he is, batting cleanup. There's Tim Keefe, another player that I recognise. There's Candy Cummings. So now these players are now starting to come. Excuse the pun. In 1884, the Greys won the first 2 games of the World Series in a non-World Series, right? They wanted a 3rd game to get the gate. So are the Greys in this league, Big Clue, as I'm playing it? It's in 1882 at the moment. I don't see any Greys. Yes, I do. The Providence Greys. There they are. When did the Cleveland Spiders come along? I keep hearing about these guys. In 1884, yeah, thank you, Ken Castro. The Greys won the first 2 games of a 3-game series in the non-World Series. Big Clue says a national powerhouse in the 1880s were the Cubs. Are they called the Cubs here? They're called the White Stockings, I think. And the Providence Grace. So Providence, at the moment, looks like a fairly weak team. So Johnny Peters, I'm seeing Johnny Peters. So this is what it looks like after week 1 of 1882. Month 1. Let's go to month 2. So you can look at the standings, you can see the players on the left-hand side. I want to show the stats. There you go. So at the end of May 1882, Dan Bruthers leads the league with batting 400. Buck Ewing has 4 home runs. Bruthers is proven to be the man. With 23. The Boston Redcaps are now in the lead. And they are leading the Red Stockings. The Bisons are at 3rd. Troy have dropped down to 4th. There are those Providence Greys. And in the Whiskey and Bear League, the Worcester Ruby Legs seem to be doing pretty well. Here are some names that you all might know more than I do. So the St. Louis Brown Stockings become the Cardinals. So let's have a look at them. Here they are. St. Louis Brown Stockings have got Charlie Comiskey, future owner of the Chicago White Sox. I do know that. There's Pud Galvin in relief. Meet the team, it says. Jumbo McInnes, the excellent pitcher. Their top man is Roger Connor. There's John Shepard. And now they've got the prospects coming through. Fred Mann, John Doyle, Bert Dorr. They've got an unmerciful owner. Interesting. So, moving on, back to the league. If you look down the names, down here in terms of pitching, Stump Weedman leads the National League with a 0.88 average. Wins Lee Richmond and Fred Goldsmith, and there's Charlie Buffington there as well. So very interesting. So what I'll do is I'll just play out the season and call it a stream. So we go to next month. Bruther's still leading the league now, batting 400. In terms of strikeouts, Charlie Buffington leads the league. Wins, Stump Weedman. In the American League, or the Whiskey and Beer League, Tom Brown leads the batting average. Roger Connor is there. So it's interesting. There's Guy Hecker. But this time with a hitting streak. So he batted both ways. So we'll just hurry this up now till the regular season ends and see what happens. So Roger Connor is someone I've learned about a little bit more as I'm getting to know the players. As we get towards the end of the season, I'm fast forwarding the sim. And the winner of the regular season for the National League of the Chicago, Cincinnati Red Stockings. The Red Stockings win. And they hold off, look at that charge, from the Bisons. They went 8 in a row. Wow, the Bisons nearly caught them right at the end. But the Red Stockings hold on to win. And the Worcester Ruby Legs hold on. So let's have a look at this team. The Worcester Ruby Legs. Main stars are Jim McCormick. I'm sure that's the name of the future as well. Scottish. George Dandy Wood, left fielder. And shortstop Arthur Doc Irwin. Interesting. And to wrap it up for the Cincinnati Red Stockings, is this the Cincinnati Reds now? This is the real one. Here we go. Joe Start, he's still playing, Big Clue. I think it was yourself or Ken Castro that were telling me about Joe Start, saying how Joe Start was an excellent player. He's still playing and he's 40 years old. So Joe Start doing well here. Tricky Nichols finished, is another pitcher. So this is interesting to see these guys. Trying to see if I see anyone else. Right, so final look at the batting average and batting champions. Dan Bruthers with Troy. Ed Swatwood played well. Hitting streaks, the longest was by King Kelly. Earned run average, Sam Weaver. Strikeouts, Charlie Buffington definitely is a great relief pitcher in action PC. In the Ned McGreevy, just something I noticed. In terms of, on the other side, the junior circuit, or whatever they want to call it, Roger Connor is in batting order. Charlie Bennett, 27 years old, played for Cleveland. Looks like a hell of a player. There's Fred Dunlap, 18 in a row. So, he just looks good. It's so good playing it on action and then seeing it here again in out of the park where I've got more familiarity now with the players. Another player I recognise, Buttercup Dickinson. I don't think he played in the Ned McGreevy. So, to wrap it up, just play out the World Series. Who won? And the Cincinnati Red Stockings win. So that brings that to an end. The Cincinnati Red Stockings take the victory. So over here in the UK it's 9 o'clock, minus 4 hours. It's what now? It must be coming up to home time for you guys. So I know it's time to take a break soon. I'm going to try and time it on Fridays to do your lunchtime slot. So if it's 12 o'clock over there, it'll be 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock over here. I think I can do that on a Friday if I'm not busy. So that my times match up a little bit more with yours. I can do it late on a Friday, if not busy. Okay, here we go. I'll see if Steve's going to do a broadcast today. I'll just quickly Discord him. There we go. Cincinnati Red Stockings take the victory. Here's some new teams now, look like. I recognize a team I've not seen before. The Columbus Buckeyes. Some teams forming again. And let's just end this. So, thank you everyone. So let's have a look at what Big Clue's saying. From Ken Castro. Stovey played for... Yeah. So yes, in the league clue, I can set it so it does the real trades, the real lineups, just like kind of like action. And I definitely can set it up that way as well. I didn't in this case, as I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't. So you make fictional trades. So if I want to see who's been transacted or what transactions have taken place, I go to logs, go to major transactions logs, you'll start to see things such as this. Worcester Ruby Legs, retired number 57, and in honour of Jimmy Wood, which is quite a neat way of doing things. Info, retired numbers, there it is. There's Jimmy Wood. So I know that Jimmy Wood is someone that I look out for in action now. So you can see all kinds of stuff. If we go to the league newspaper, you wanted trades, didn't you? So I'm trying to work out. Maybe this early in the league you won't have as many trades. But here's some transactions. Talks about who leaves and who signs. Doesn't look like there's too many trades going on at the moment. You can see Providence placed John Daly on the injured 15-day disabled list. Lots of signings, not much trading. But I can see pitching coaches. You can turn all this stuff off. I mean, I leave it in there just a little bit. I shouldn't really. If I wanted to make it more a sim-ish, I could do so. But I like a little bit of variation in there, just a little bit. So what's Big Clue saying here? Worcester finished last that year. In real life, really, but here they are doing really well, Worcester. We don't have to wait 37 years. They had a 350 approximate winning percentage in their first 3 seasons. So the Quakers are the Phillies and the Gotham to the Giants. So now we're starting to see league evolution and how Arundel Park does that, because I can see an expansion draft here, which means the league looks like it's going to expand. So I go expansion draft. I'm hoping that I didn't. Right, let's have a look. Start draft. I have no idea. These players look like they're active. So what this is, the league is expanding. So the historical rookies will go on their team anyway. But these players must have been free agents let go by their team or not protected. So the first person in the auto draft, the New York Metropolitans, a new team, picked Jack Manning. Jack Manning. Right, that's interesting. How do I do this? So Jack Manning is the man. Oh, it was Jack Manning. I don't know what I just did there. Why have I just taken it off Jack Manning? I'll just let it complete the draft. Auto draft. There we are. So that's the expansion draft. Not very long. New York Metropolitans got 9 picks so far. And I suppose the rest will be filled with Ghost players, I guess. Press play. The Great Gold Glove winner is autoplay. So for some reason this is thinking I need to do a draft, an expansion draft. I don't need that. The regular season to begin. So 1883, this is winter of 82. is about to start. We'll have a quick preview of that. And there he is. Hey, Beatles Eternally. How you doing? Good to see you, Beatles. I was doing this, Beatles, because I wasn't sure if Steve's going to go online or not. He said yesterday he might. A strong hint that he would, but he had to cancel. So I didn't want to start another league file again because I've just wrapped it up nicely. It's called Daddy, in honour of Cecil Fielder, of course. But what you saw yesterday, Beatles, is yeah. So yeah, Beatles, you've got me down this rabbit hole big time. So I thought I'd kill some time yesterday by looking at 1871, as you saw, and just going all the way up now to 1883, and looking at those players from the Ned McGreevy League that I've become familiar with. You all are more familiar, like I said, but now we're just previewing 1883. And there's the new league, because it's got new teams in there now. They're called different names. But Beatles, I was just saying earlier, there's your Pittsburgh Alleghenies. The Alleghenies, there they are. I think in this league, if we go to their history, they started off in 1872. Now, whether that's their name in 1872, I don't know. They were called, looks like the Washington Nationals, maybe. But it does carry over all the information, so it shows you when exactly they did update their names and stuff. I don't know if it carries the right ballpark. I have got the patch, but what I've noticed, Beatles, that looks better, but it's not the real park. There's Exposition Park, but it looks like a generic park to me. It doesn't carry all the parks yet, but I do have the patch. So the question was being asked, are the trades fictional? I've got it set for GM trades rather than the real trades that took place. So, yeah. So when Beatles says, Season Mike, you must allow 72 hours. That's fair enough. It's like when Robbie asks a girl on a date and she says, maybe. Yes, so the Alleghenies are here, Beatles. They're definitely here. And I was just looking at the league because it's expanded. So let's have a look on just a quick one at the reports and info. So Beatles, are you about to go online? I can do a thing tomorrow. I've got all day tomorrow morning to crack on and do, if Steve doesn't appear tonight, and do some Howie Shanks. It's a bit hot over here at the minute. Oosh. Here we are. So in terms of reports, player rankings, here we go. Here are the player rankings as we come into 1883. 21-year-old Pete Browning is ranked the best player, according to this. This is the 2080 scouting ratings. So 80 contact. Dan Bruthers, my man, at only 24, I predict he'll be the greatest player of all time. We can see another player Beatles I've learned about. Beatles has come in. Dave Orr, which I think Big Blue told me about recently. Why is my thing flashing? Levi Marley, another one I did not know anything about. I've not seen him in a Ned McGreevy. Right, cool. Okay, no problem, Beatles. I shall see you then. Tally ho. Roger. So Buck Ewing. So these are the guys here. There's Guy Hecker. I'd love to see a Guy Hecker match. His control pitcher doesn't seem to be that good, but if we look at his in-game pitching stats, he's pitched 2 seasons so far. In 1882, he has gone 27-19, so that was his first season. I suppose the black ink is the red ink here, although I have seen black ink in this game as well. So, not quite sure what's going on there. I think that's just how it is. In terms of reports and info, pre-season's predictions, they are predicting in the Whiskey and Beer League the Columbus Buckeyes to be the winners. Columbus, his team, just so you can see them, has got the immortal John Clarkson, who we see in the Howie Shanks League. Not sure he plays for, I think he plays for Big Blue. He's there. Harry Stovey is the first baseman. Why is he in a red hat? I do not know. Why is it flashing? So they've got some excellent players there in their team. In 1882, they've lost, it looks like, 2 World Series in a row. So it's a pretty strong team. Can Columbus get over the hump? Cleveland are there as well. So you're doing, just so I can tune in and get my ice cream ready. Yeah, Beatles, I probably will do that actually, because the early ones don't exist just yet. Not for what I see. The Metropolitans, do they become the Gents? The Giants. The Gents, the Giants. No, nothing there yet. Otherwise known as West Diamond. Yeah, I might do. The problem is, Beatles, when I've designed a ballpark in the past for a fictional league, I actually designed one that looked just like Ebbets. Yes, would you believe? Yes, I did. But where is it? I can't find it anywhere. You mean? So I'd like to... Probably if I went to ballparks, I'd find it. Yeah, Clarkson's not been great. In fact, we've got a lot of... I'll tell you one thing about the league that we're in at the moment, the Howie Shanks Bingo League, is how badly Nap Lajoie is doing. I mean, Lajoie is terrible. I think he's playing for Lawrence's team. But there's no rhyme or reason why he would be playing so badly. Because he plays so well. Unless, bear in mind it's not slice, it's season. Unless it's just not a great Lajoie season, which is almost impossible, but it is possible, isn't it? The Gothams become the Giants, right? The lag is very quick today, actually. The Gothams are in the league. And there we have the left fielder, Tip O'Neill. I recognize that name. He plays for Lawrence's Hawaii Volcanoes in the Howie Shanks Bingo League. And there's a name I recognize that I absolutely love. Is there a better name than Orator Schaefer? And why is it flashing? I've never seen that before. Am I pressing a key unnecessarily? Maybe it's my joystick. There's a problem with my joystick, maybe. No, my joystick's not in my hand, is it? I'm not sure what's going on there. But it's flashing. I don't want to need flashing on this channel. Here we go. So that's the start of it at the moment. So, sorry for the flashing. I'm not sure why that's occurring. So, he hated being traded from Jersey to Hawaii. He went from the East Coast to the middle of nowhere. Right, so let's do a Beatles suggestion. So I've done it before. Right, so what we're going to do is have a quick look at the old Boston Bean Eaters. Go to the info with Beatles steering the wheel here. Ballpark, I do know. Edit ballpark, I do know that. 3D model is already in existence, but I don't like it. So that's the South and if I was to create a new one, I would go back to, let me see now, Beatles talk me through this one. I've done it before, but is it not a ballpark creator somewhere? Beatles! Here we are, 3D construction kit. Right, let's just have a quick look and see. When on the T screen, go to settings, go to create a ballpark. I think I've got it. And Big Clue says he thinks he's being brainwashed. Yeah, thanks for the turn up today, guys. I just thought we'd do a little bit while we wait for the elusive Mr. Tate. Select ballpark size. So on a Major League ballpark, we want a 19th century ballpark, Beatles. So anything that you'd like as a shape, or it would probably be something that hasn't got many stands in it, I'd imagine. What shape? I mean, it's a diamond, isn't it? I mean, shape. Alright, well, that'll do. Fill texture. Alright. Would it be a Major League ballpark, though, or wouldn't it be more like a minor league ballpark? Because of the fact that, you know, things just weren't developed. I think that's probably right. What's the difference? Size, maybe? Minor league. Well, I suppose put Major League. There we go, alright. Next here, go to step 2, okay. 3 tip to cornfield. No, we don't want a cornfield. It's a city. I did do, like I said, I did do a what do you call it? A Ebbets Field. I was very proud of, actually. In fact, I'll see if I can recreate it. Left field had a stand, right? A 3-tier stand, but it was better than that. It was a stand with lights. Yes. See, watch MV recreate Ebbets Field. Allegedly. Right field. No, not quite. Although I do like that, I'm going to keep that. Centre field. Alright, this is my version of 19th century. Red for red bolts, of course. There you go. In fact, I'm going to call this, guess what? Guess what I'm going to call this one? Red Bolt Stadium. So that's it. Let's go to step 3, I think. And go to step 4. We'll call, what I don't know, Beatles, is where to save it. So this Red Bolt Stadium, or MV Stadium, even better. Red Bolt Stadium. There we are. It's got 20. These West Virginians don't follow directions. Can it be shaped like platform 9? Alright. Can that happen? Oh, no team assignment. There you go. Yeah, but I don't want it to be saved. I don't want it to be assigned to anyone just yet. So if I say save ballpark. Manchester. Alright. Where should Manchester be? Let's make it in Maine. I like Maine. Been there. Nice lobsters. A nice Victoria's Secret in there actually as well. Don't ask me how I know that. So, Red Bolt Stadium is now created, but I think Beatles said something to me just a minute ago. As I'm trying to follow his instructions. So right, Beatles, how would I load it up? That's the bit I'm like trying to work out. I mean, I can figure it out, I guess, but ballpark shape 5, structure 5, background. This is the one I like. I like that texture. It's really nice in the game itself. Really pretty. 3-tier stands. We're just talking about platforms. Platform 9. Oh, Platform 9. You're talking about from a movie. Red. Oh, that looks nice. That looks like Camden, doesn't it? Plaza and a building. Oh, that looks quite nice. Things you get carried away with this, can't you? It's good fun. That's not right. Oh, we've got the grassy knoll. All we need now is... No. Anyway, I think you get the picture. Let's change centre field. I think Paul's what I was looking for, Beatles, was about... Go to step 3, go to step 4. Save ballpark. If I assign it to someone, it will disappear anyway because when it evolves. I'll assign it to who? Pittsburgh? No, I'll mess you up. The Louisville Eclipse, for example. Let's do that. They're not going to last long, are they? Louisville won't become anyone, will they? And that's that. So if I go to 3D model, it should have them on screen now. There we are. And I should be able to move my camera around. I'm playing with this at the moment. Perfect. Actually, that's not too bad. I kind of like that. The one in the middle is wrong. But it's wrong era, but I like that. Yeah, oh dear, Beatles are funny. Remind me not to pick to see if we're playing True Pursuit. What's wrong with my True Pursuit? I'm very good historian. Let me see. Dealey Plaza, Texas School Book Depository, the Grassy Knoll. I know all about the JFK conspiracy. The question is, was it true? Did someone assassinate? Well, that's true. Was it a conspiracy or was it the lone gunman? That is the question. And one day, maybe on Beatles channel, if anyone's a conspiracy theorist, then we can talk about that one. That's an interesting theory. The classy though, I was going to say they aren't pissing. Beatles says the grassy knoll. Go on then. You need JFK, the CIA, the mafia, and Robbie's granddad. We also need Lyndon Johnson as well. Don't let me get started. He is from Texas. Robbie's dad. There's such a host of characters in that whole story. Isn't Woody Harrelson's dad meant to be one of the hobos? Woody Harrelson's dad, yeah. And Ted Cruz's dad is involved in there somewhere, or at least in the story. So if we go to, what did I just click? The Louisville Eclipse, they should have, and they're a team, this is a new team, new season, 1-4, standings at the moment are, we'll just look at a game, shall we? Just a quick one, quick inning or two. This is 1883, it is April the 6th, we're looking to start the league. I don't know why it's flashing, I really don't, it must be my monitor. Aha, that's what it is. And we're looking to play at Louisville. So this is how I do it, Beatles, don't know about yourself, but I go down to scores, and then I either finish then look for a matchup that I like. I suspect my monitor's about to blow. I don't want my monitor blowing on me. I'm not in the middle of a broadcast. Louisville. No, not that one. Not that one. I'm just going to play an inning of a game at that new stadium, but I can't get it to work. In fact, you know what's easier doing it this way? Play exhibition at Louisville. And we're going to pick the White Stockings. Press play. And just to see the stadium in game, that's all. So Robbie's granddad, he's from Texas. This place has not a clue. Here we go. We're at the right stadium here. No, it didn't pick it up. It didn't pick it up. Never mind. Let's just see what it looks like. So I'll just finish this. I'll put a little quick stream of an inning. Yes, there it is. See that, Beatles? The texture looks so amazing. It really does. I did create the other day, I swear to you, I did create Ebbets Field. As good a representation of Ebbets Field as you'll see. Without it being done by, of course, Mike Silver. It really allowed me to create such a good representation of it. So if I just create my camera, no, yes, there it is. And what I like about it is the sand, or the gravel, or whatever you want to call it. I can play around with that camera. What I want to do in the future is be able to save that stadium. So whichever year I'm playing, then I'll be able to pick it up. I'm not sure I can do that. Yeah, it is absolutely Beatles. I didn't even think of it, actually. That makes complete sense. There was a link you posted the other day, actually. So here we go. Nice. But I do like the texture on here, I really do. Tom Burns at the plate. Frank Pierce. My problem is just getting the camera angles right. And I can fiddle around with this all day, which I'm not going to. Let's try this. Yes, just a quick one. And that, gentlemen, will be it for me. Beatles is going to come on, it sounds like, in about 4 hours. I'll just do one more inning to see this out. There we go. Bill Gleason at bat. Joe Borden on the mound. And that's lifted to left field. And it's going to be... Nope. So I've got to change the colour of the outfield there. This park's way too big. So, that's the end of that then. So, I will escape this. It's so hot here in the UK. We're having a heat wave, which we tend to have because of global warming. So, ladies and gents particularly tonight, thank you very much. I'm going to call it a stream, but thank you so much for the support, guys. I almost feel like I should stay on because there's a little banter in there as usual. With old Beatles and Big Clue, and we've had Ken Castro in today. I don't know if you're still there, Ken. But guys, thank you so much for joining. Beatles, I will join you later. For sure, D. Scott Howard, I will see you later. Thanks for coming in. And anyone else that was lurking on the outside, thanks for lurking. That's how I started. Or that's how I rolled for many years. Just lurking, staring in through the window as everyone huddled around the fire. I thought, why won't they let me in? All I had to do was ask. So, just to say thanks very much. Hope we've enjoyed it. Just like I said, it's a bit of a filler while we wait for, Scarlet Pimpernel himself. But thank you. No worries, Clue. But don't worry, MV. You don't need to compensate for these failures. We'll be here later. Cool. I will see you all later. Thanks, Beatles. Thanks, guys. Yeah, do you know what, Beatles? Do you know what I don't get with the MLB The Show? Just before I go. Is, you'd have to show me how to do that. I can create it. It takes a bit of fiddling. Yeah, I did the same in the cricket game, which I'm going to show off one day soon. You can create the stadiums, and I understand the concept of it. What I can't understand is how to take a picture of an empty stadium. Or does it have to, or a stadium front on, like full frontal? You know what I mean? So you can see, like we see in Action PC, or that I can't see. Could you do a, when you do it, if you do it, a full frontal will be really good of the stadium? So that would work. You know what I mean? So that we could download it. But then again, you did put a link in Discord the other day of the full frontals of the MLB stadiums, or a link to the Out of the Park link, which had the full frontal stuff. So yeah, I'll be looking for that, to be fair. Yeah, alright guys, I will catch you on the other side, and I will see you later. Beatles in a couple of hours. I will look out for you if I'm still awake. Should be. I'm working tomorrow. And thanks for coming in, guys. Ta-ra. From MV. Ta-ra. Ah, brilliant. So you're going to go on your